He's quite real polite.
Is Lynn ready? Sandy ready? I'll be right back. Welcome. It's 6:30. We'll call Sawyer County Board meeting to order. Ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Steve Carrienan.
Here.
Kay Wilson. Here. Tweed Schuman. Here. Stacy Hessel. Here. Randy Newman.
Here.
Mark Helwig.
Yep.
Tom Duffy.
Here.
Marshall Savitsky.
Here.
Brian Bissonette.
Here.
Chuck Van Etten.
Here.
Jeff Haney.
Here.
John Righeimer.
Here.
Ron Kinsley.
Here.
Ron Buckholz.
Present.
John Sorowski.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is pledge allegiance to the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Number 4, certification and compliance with open meeting laws.
This meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by Section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to thank Supervisor Mr. Tweed Schuman for serving as the Sawyer County Board Chair for the last 6 years. Much appreciated. Thank you. Number 5 is the meeting agenda. The agenda is set. Number 6 is public comment. Anybody wishing to speak to the board, we ask you try to keep it to about 3 minutes to be respectful for all. Anybody wish to speak to the board? Is there anybody online? Number 7, appointments, reappointments of the board of public members of the board, commissions, and committees. So at this time, last week, we appointed a zoning committee to fill in for one meeting. So that'll be going away, and we worked hard on putting members of the board into committees. We tried to serve the ones that they asked for best we could. Also that we also put people on committees that we thought was best for the county board. Discussion and possible action. You want to add anything?
Yeah, just per the board rules, the board chair makes the recommendation or makes the appointments to the standing committees. It requires a majority vote of the board members voting. And then myself with the board chair did the appointments for the outside boards, commissions, and committees. Those are all listed in the presentation that's on the screens and the handout I gave. Those also require a majority vote of the board members voting.
Do we have any questions, concerns? Yes.
I'm just wondering if somebody has a discrepancy or wants to switch committees, is that allowable now or a discussion for later?
What we've done in the past is accepted what we've had, and then if someone needed to change, we would do it next month. That's what we've done in the past. Mr. Schuman.
I'll make a motion, Chairman, that we approve the standing committees as presented by the board chair.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Mr. Righeimer to approve the committees as presented. Any discussion? Yes.
I do want to make a comment as far as, we did kind of make a mistake. We got the zoning committee, but we didn't ensure that we had a committee for the transit. So we ended up not having a meeting because people weren't really sure who should go.
We didn't have a quorum anyway, excuse me, Mr. I talked to Gary out at Transit and we did not have a quorum for that day, so that's why they decided not to have it.
But did people know did the people who were on the committee
The
know
people that were on the committee could be attending at that meeting at that time.
they were aware that they were gonna be there, supposed to be there?
Well, I don't know about that, but that should have been up to transit manager.
All right, thanks.
That is my fault as an oversight. You have a question, comment?
That was it. Thank you, sir.
Who's next? Steve?
Oh, well, that means you wanna say something.
Sorry.
Sorry. Any other comments? I'm gonna ask the question, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Yes,
So just want to make one comment regarding especially the external boards, committees, and commissions that some of you have been appointed to. I think something I'd like to make sure we do going ahead is just to, if you attend those, when you attend those, if you hear of anything that we should be aware of within our standing committees, we try to align the people being appointed so you can bring that information back to those committees. You'll find out that some of these external boards and commissions were either investors, like we are with I use the word investor, like we are with Hayward Lakes or the Sawyer County LCL Economic Development Corporation. We're stakeholders in some of the regional commissions where it's maybe a federal or state group and we're there to be an oversight board. So if you hear of anything that's concerning or you have questions on, please let me know, let the board chair know so we can help you address those and answer your questions. But we want to make sure we have good information going to them and coming back for the county. Thanks.
does that take care of A, B, and C? Number 8, authorizing signature change on the checks. Being there's a new chair, we have to have a new signature on the check so we can make payroll. Mr. Buckles.
I make a motion to approve signer's change on the checks.
I'll second that.
Ms. Hessel, there's a motion by Mr. Buckles, second by Ms. Hessel to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, consider approval of the minutes of the previous meetings. We'll do one at a time. So first we have the March 21st, 24 County Board meeting draft. Is there any questions? Mr. Duffy?
I move we approve of the first meeting of March 21st.
Mr. Helwig?
I will second that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Duffy, second by Mr. Helwig to approve the March 21st meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Also, we have minutes of the April 16th meeting.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes from the 16th meeting.
Motion by Mr. Righeimer,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Duffy. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 10, zoning committee. Mr. Buckles.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The zoning committee holds its monthly public hearing the third Friday of every month at 8:30. At last week's meeting, the committee heard 2 rezone cases which will be discussed at the next month's county board meeting. The committee also heard 2 and approved 2 conditional use permits. The committee continues to work through an ordinance amendment process for focusing around multi-dwelling development and potential for new requests to allow for the storage shed exemption in platted divisions with the town's approval. Both of these ordinance amendments are still unfolding within the next committee level, but may come to the county board within the next few months. So if there's no more questions, I will turn it over to our zoning administrator, Jay Kozlowski.
Good evening, County Board Supervisors. For those that don't know me, my name is Jay Kozlowski. I'm the Sawyer County Zoning Administrator. Been working for Sawyer County for 15 years, administrator for the last 4. I'll generally be in attendance to the county board meetings to present the rezone cases, which do require county board supervisor ratification. Those be either for approval or for denial. Also for any proposed ordinance amendments that may come through the zoning office. My staff reports are included as part of your packets, but feel free to ask me any questions either before the meeting or even during the meeting at this time. I report to 2 committees of jurisdiction, that is through the Land, Water, Forest Resource Committee for the conservation aspects, and then through the Zoning Committee for the zoning aspects. Those zoning aspects would deal with conditional use permits, rezones, subdivisions, and zoning ordinance changes. The Zoning and Conservation Department is made up, or I'm sorry, the Conservation Department is made up of 2 full-time conservation employees. The Zoning Department is made up of 4 full-time zoning employees, as well as myself. The Conservation Department deals with the management of the 7 county-owned dams that we have, farmer nutrient management plans, waste storage pits, aquatic invasive species, shoreline buffer zone restorations, grading permits, county tree sale applications, just to name a few. The Zoning Department deals with the public hearing processes for rezones and conditional use permits, which I just kind of explained. Land use permits for all buildings and structures, state sanitary permits, certified soil tests, on-site setback verification, land use complaints, fire number applications, general building questions, certified survey maps, subdivisions, floodplains, wind energy systems, solar power systems, non-metallic mining, telecommunication towers. Again, just to name a few. Over the last 4 years, the zoning department has seen an increased building activity on land use permits each of the last 4 years. This has left the department short-staffed and short-handed with those activity levels. Even throughout the first quarter of this year, we are at 57 permits over the same time last year. Again, each of the last 4 years, we have seen this increase. Last year alone, we were at 561 land use permits, 318 sanitary permits. Please take that into consideration during the budget request for 2025, as I will most likely be seeking additional staffing for the zoning department. With that, and barring no additional comments or questions, I will move into the rezone cases. First we have is rezone number 24-003. This is for Kenneth and Janelle Disher. It's in the town of Hayward, part of the northwest one quarter of section 36, township 41 north, range 9 west. It is 40 total acres, zone forestry 1. The request is to rezone that entire 40 acres of forestry 1 to residential 1. With the approval of the rezone, the applicant would then proceed with a certified survey map, which we have on hold pending the ratification, to split out a 2.6 acre lot in the northwest quarter of this 40 acres. Be it that the property is zoned forestry 1, it does require a 5 acre minimum in order to further subdivide. So that is why the request and the zone district change request is being proposed. At this time, the applicant has no future subdivision prospects, but he wants to potentially keep his options open moving forward, and that he may end up requesting for a subdivision plat in the future. Town of Hayward shows this area as rural transition. Rural transition does align with the town's comprehensive plan for a R1 residential 1 zone district. The surrounding land use is forestry and residential. There are several wetland complexes on the property. Those are not subject to change. There were 10 additional notification letters sent out to property owners within 300 feet of that property. 1 was returned and read into record with objections. The town of Hayward approved the rezone request on March 12th, and at the Sawyer County Zoning Committee level, at their public hearing on March 17th, it was recommended for approval as a vote of 4-1 to the County Board of Supervisors with my findings of facts, or with the findings of facts as listed in my staff report.
Mr. Schuman.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, approving rezone 24-003 as presented.
Ms. Hessel.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Ms. Hessel. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Next rezone we have is number 24-004, owner Jeffrey Hunt. This is located in the town of Draper. It's part of the subdivision of Village of Loretta. Lots 13, 14, and 15, all within block 3. Tax ID 5746 and 5745. Both are zoned residential 1. It is 1.308 total acres. The request is to rezone the 1.308 from residential 1 to commercial 1. As per the applicant's statement, this would be to operate an auto repair shop, which would be a good thing for the community. I have jobs to offer. I plan to keep my property cleaned up. quote unquote. The auto repair shop would be located on this property, would be a permitted use within that C1 district as per the Story County zoning ordinance. With the attached map, it's again included in my packet. The current surrounding land use is R1 in all directions from this property, approximately 172 feet to the south, further along the Highway 70 corridor is zoned commercial, so this wouldn't necessarily be viewed as spot zoning. However, the town comprehensive plan future land use map shows this as rural residential, where they have seen growth in residential development and anticipate that to continue. There were 14 additional notification letters sent out to property owners within 300 feet. 2 comments were returned with objections and read into record. 2 comments were returned with no objections or for approval. The town of Draper denied the rezone request on their March 12, 2024 town board meeting, stating that there was an incompatible use with the area, environmental concerns, and fire hazard concerns. At the Story County Zoning Committee public hearing process on March 17, 2024, it was recommended for denial to the County Board of Supervisors as a vote of 5-0 with the findings of facts as laid out in the staff report.
Mr. Buckles.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to deny the rezone number 24-004.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Buckles, second by Mrs. Wilson to deny. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Jay. Number 11, Public Safety Committee, Mr. Buckles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Public Safety met on April 4th, 2024. Circuit Court Judges Report, Anna, I don't know if I'm gonna say this right, Amparo reported that the Court Security Work Group is starting back up and will meet again in May. Clerk of Court's office, there are 2 jury trials scheduled for April at this time. Revenue collected through SDC and TRP and DOR for a period of 2/27 through 3/26 is $33,679.02. Patrol report was given, volume decreased from last month to 718. Citations issued or statistics were shared, and they have been auto crashes to date with 0 fatalities. Lieutenant Rapinski advised that they will be hosting training in April focusing on medication-assisted therapy and dementia, and they will be awarded a short-term speed enforcement grant in the amount of $11,844. A jail report by Lieutenant Waller, the average jail population was 70 the month of March, and 5 are on electronic monitoring and 1 is on working Huber privileges. The current inmate unemployment rate is 74%. He recognizes that several jail staff for administering Narcan has in medical emergency situations on the job. A communications report, Mrs. Rapinski advised that they started installing new software in the center and new dispatchers training began and more applicants are beginning to background stages now. Emergency management. Mrs. Rapinski continues to work with the towns and villages on emergency plans. Child support, there was 1,118 open cases with $438,787.33 support collected. Emergency management by Mr. Fremmel. We are officially using the new building software program and it will begin learning process on the plan form, and first responders, bystanders, and 1 member has given Narcan to individuals. And that ends my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? If not, thank you, Mr. Buckles. Number 12 is Public Works Committee. I'll take that chair report, which involves maintenance, airport, and highways. The maintenance report, we received a written report from Mr. Hagberg, and they seem to be staying busy. They do a nice job in our building and keeping it clean, and they always have requests for remodeling different things. Out at the airport's been very busy. We have been working on a master plan. The master plan will come back to a public meeting in either the month of September or October, the dates to be determined. And the highway department is extremely busy. They're always doing something. They're shouldering the roads presently. And we have a very good crew out there. They're looking for new ways to do things. One of the things they're looking into is, instead of putting all that salt down in the wintertime, we can have a different solution that can go down, but that's not finalized yet. But he's looking into new ideas. I think that's a great idea. Letter B is courthouse remodel update. A reminder on May 16th, we have a ribbon cutting ceremony at 5 o'clock. It's the same night as the county board meeting. That concludes my report. Any questions? Number 13, Land, Water, Forest Committee was Mr. Peters, who covered that now.
Mr. Elway, your chair, or vice chair.
This is from last month, my friend.
Last month.
Yeah, the minutes are there also, so if anybody has any questions, they can refer to that and always bring a question back. All right.
Thank you. Busy as usual. Mr. Peterson presented an application for the Sealy Lions Pre-Fat Mountain Bike Race. They're expecting 250 to 300 riders for the event. Mr. Zulsdorf provided a review of advertising and traffic control efforts for the race. This is the largest fundraiser for the Lions each year. Land Records had a written report. They have showing a review of 13 certified survey maps in March. Forestry Department is, they're staying on track as far as the budget goes. They're continuing working on the ATV, UTV route, excuse me, routes, readying the trails for the opening season. And this is being a pain in the ass. I mean, oops. DNR forestry report was provided. With the warmer temps and lower moisture will lengthen our fire season. Timber sale establishment is remaining steady, and they are looking forward to the 4th grade tree planting day on Sawyer County forestry land on May 3rd. Zoning and conservation report. Written report was provided. We continue to search for an agricultural rep to sit on the committee. Tree sales moved to April 26th, 27th. They are starting to have more on-site inspections with the warmer weather. Conference report is provided later in the agenda. LCO report, Mr. Bissonette reported that LCO fish hatchery operations were put temporarily on hold due to snow arrival. There is another project on the old Cranberry Field. That would be my report.
Good job. Anybody have any questions? The minutes are there. Thank you, Mr. Howig. Number 14, Health and Human Services. Ms. Wilson?
I'll give that report for tonight. Our meeting was April 9th. The Senior Resource Center report was that they are now nominated for the $10,000 award for 100 Who Care organization. If approved, they would use that money for Meals on Wheels. There was a retirement of the nutrition director, and the duties are now split and shared between Jody Olney and Joey Johnson. In the Aging and Disability Resource Center, there were 19 referrals and 16 open investigations at this time. In the Behavioral Health report, There are 9 clients currently enrolled in the coordinated service team, and there are 46 clients in the Children's Long-Term Support Program. Under Child Protective Services, there are 28 out-of-home care cases, 8 in youth justice, and 31 total cases in youth justice, which is a high caseload for one worker. In the economic report, Ms. White reported that there were 1,112 food share cases for the month of February. The call center received 8,675 calls that month. There were, then they gave a caseload comparison between 23 and 24, which I found very interesting because in 2023, in the month of February, there were 2,805 calls. In 2024, there were 15,828 calls. In the public health report, Julie McCallum said that the caseload of influenza is moderate. The state level is now low. There has been an increase in measles in this year, but there have been no Wisconsin reported cases as yet. There have been 178 individuals who received Narcan training online, 520 in person, and 3,215 individuals have received the presentation on fentanyl. I was present yesterday at a fentanyl presentation to the school in Mellon, and it was an excellent presentation by the staff. The tourist rooming house draft ordinance was discussed, and that will be on the May agenda as well. And that is my report.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Anybody have any questions? Thank you. Number 15, Finance Committee report. I'll give the finance report. Mr. Markeren does a wonderful job bringing information to the Finance Committee. The sales tax money that's coming in is very strong yet. We looked over the budget. The budget is a fourth of the way through the year, and he felt everything seems to be in line. We looked at attorney fees, trying to watch where that's going, and that'll be on the agenda constantly in the months going ahead. He gives us a written report about the investments and whether he thinks we should take out, put money in CDs, and presently he thinks we're making pretty good money. We'd talk about the ambulance service. And speaking of the ambulance service, has anybody looked into the plans of the Ojibwa building down there? That concludes my report. Number 16, Economic Development UW Extension Report.
That's mine. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met on April 8th. First of all, we learned that the Sawyer County Fair will hold a fundraiser in June. The University of Wisconsin Extension reported on their Northwoods Forum celebrating 175 years of partnering with Wisconsin communities. And this event will be held on May 7th at the Torches Resort Casino in Lac du Flambeau. The Economic Development Corporation discussed their work on housing in the area, and we heard a broadband report from Andy, and he'll cover this in his report. The Hayward Lakes Visitor Report, they cover their spring activities. The Governor's Fishing Opener will be held this year in Burnett County, and Sawyer County is looking for donations for a Sawyer County basket to be auctioned off at the event. And their staff travel to Lake Geneva for the Governor's Conference on Tourism, and next year that conference will be held in La Crosse. The Hayward Library gave us a list of summer programs, including a basic first aid for children. And the library held an eclipse watching party, and they handed out paper plates fitted with tinted goggles. They watched on TV the coverage as the eclipse traveled from Mexico through the US and into Canada. Locally overcast skies prevented eclipse from being seen clearly here, although daylight diminished around 2 o'clock. The library has maintained their walking and ski trails by grooming in the winter and mowing in the summer. And the Winter Library gave us a breakdown of their summer programs, including summer reading programs. The library is open for 47 hours per week in the summer months. That, Mr. Chairman, completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Duffy. Moving on to the administrator's report.
Yep, some of this will be a rehash of what you heard from the committees. But like Mr. Kinsley said, the ribbon cutting open house is May 16th. 4 o'clock, we'll have the building open for tours and an open house, and then at 5 o'clock is the ribbon cutting and dedication ceremony in this room. Personnel updates, and I should say otherwise, for all practical purposes, the building is completed, but we have had a couple things come up, tweaks that we're having to make as far as security or some lighting deficiencies that we're working with the contractor on to get those completed. Personnel updates, we've hired or at least made an offer for a clerk of court, part-time deputy for the registrar of probate. We have a number of applications in hand for dispatch and jail positions, and they're conducting interviews this week. We've been able to hire some paramedics, and actually they're nurses that are able to do paramedic work, trying to fill in those open positions. That continues to be a need, though. Code enforcement specialist started April 8th. We've offered for the deputy director position in human services, but do not have an acceptance. And we're actively recruiting right now for limited term employment positions and veteran service for van drivers and seasonal positions at the highway department. We have I think 1 or 2 of those left. And then a social worker and the kinship and foster care coordinator position for child protective services. Update on the grievance that you heard about a couple months ago. That has been taken to arbitration by the union, and we have a tentative date in a week and a half for that arbitration hearing to be held. Corporate counsel work, nothing much has changed there. Primarily ordinance work and some land use assistance. Like has been mentioned, the tourist rooming house short-term rental has had a lot of work put into it by the ad hoc committee. It was viewed by the Health Human Services Board at last month's meeting. And it's on the agenda for May's meeting, where we expect them to set up a public hearing date for that ordinance to receive public comment. And then we're working on internal policies as well. Airport, you already heard about the master plan. Outside of that, there's a number of other activities going on out there this time of the year. We lost our summer mowing help, so we're looking at a mowing contract. Highway department is doing brush removal. We're trying to use the highway department to do more work for other departments where they can. That's primarily right now at the airport. The 2025 airport resurfacing project is online. There's a pre-bid meeting coming up, and they'll be taking bids on that. That'll be a significant impact on the airport because the runway will be shut down for a couple months. So we're starting to address that timeline. Responding to some hangar issues and potential work on that over the summer. And then we're also adjusting for the personal property tax elimination that happened this year. So all of the hangars that are on our airport are we own the land, they're privately owned. Prior to this, they would pay a personal property tax, they'd be assessed directly. With the elimination of that tax in Wisconsin, all of the hangar property will be still being assessed, but it'll be come to a tax bill to us as the property owner. We're gonna have to assess that out to each of the hangar owners through their lease. So we're working on that as well as coordinating with the Bureau of Aeronautics on our upcoming airport funding. Ambulance, still, like I mentioned, trying to fill the paramedic positions. That is our biggest need now. And when we can get that full, we're gonna work on aligning staff and scheduling for a little bit better efficient, more efficient operation and reviewing calls and billing performance as well. To answer the question of Mr. Kinsley regarding, I think the comment came up at the last meeting, or one of the prior meetings we've had in the last month regarding bathroom situation at the Ojibwa station. There is only one bathroom at the Ojibwa station that was built though, according to state plans. There's 3 bedrooms there. we never should have more than 3 staff there, and oftentimes it's only 2. And the little bit more in-depth answer is that the state-approved plans at that time, for code purposes, allowed 2 separate. The bedroom, living room, kitchen area is residential standards, and the rest of the building is commercial standards. So that's why only 1 bathroom was needed in that facility. Now, the second part of that question has not been answered as to if there are issues with only having 1 bathroom, how big of an issue is it, and what is our solution? We have not addressed that yet. But I've asked the ambulance director to do a little more investigation as to what the issues are there and how often they're coming up. Economic development, we primarily work on that through the EDC. They are working on a business incubation project with LCO. And then you'll be seeing more information kind of going out regarding housing and why it's such a critical issue for us. They did do a housing study that we did get a presentation on in the Economic Development Committee a few months ago. And we're trying to get that information out to the city council and other stakeholders in the community to understand what the issue is. I think if you just look at the housing market, you'll see houses going on the market and coming off fairly quickly. There are new housing developments ongoing. But if you match up the price point for housing in the community with what the individuals who work here are making, it doesn't match up. It's difficult for people to live and work here. So trying to look for solutions for that with the EDC. Broadband, the biggest happening right now is we've heard probably we referenced the BEAD funding, BEAD, that's forthcoming from the federal government to the state in the coming year. Part of that, though, is the pre-work to determine where that money should go. So they've been working on the BEAD maps to identify eligible areas within the state that are either underserved or unserved. Those maps were supposed to be out months ago, but we just received notice that they should be coming out in the next week, and there'll be a period of time where they can be challenged. So agencies, local governments, private sector will have a chance to review those maps and challenge whether or not there is underserved or unserved areas on the map that are not labeled appropriately. LCO, just some communication with the tribal attorney regarding ATV routes. And then the CJCC agreement that the county has had with LCO expires this year, and we've requested to work on renewing or a new agreement for that. I think you've heard some updates tonight about CJCC. The fentanyl campaign is transitioning away from the awareness component. That was funded with opioid dollars for about a 1-year time period, which is coming up. And so we'll be looking at other uses of the opioid funds that are incoming. Diversion and treatment courts are both up and running. Diversion's been doing very well. Treatment court is getting more eligible or more referrals. So we expect to see more people being able to take part in that. Probably a dozen people this year would be a really good achievement if they can get that many people into the program, but it will take some time it's a long process once you are in treatment court. Budget, just a couple comments on that. 2024 closeout is in process, and we'll start sending information to the auditors for the audit. It does take a few months to get everything closed out, especially in human services, for all the reimbursements from the state to come in and all the bills from those other outlying service providers. 2025 discussion has already started with the finance director. He's put together our timeline. We're fine-tuning that, and looking at our capital improvement plan. And like you already heard tonight, and he skipped out quickly, we expect to see some staff requests that we haven't seen in prior years. So we're figuring out how to address those and work with the board to determine some priorities. And we are monitoring sales tax. It's been strong. We do expect to see some sort of hiccup because of the winter. We should see that within the next day or two. The next month's comes out every month. We get a report, and it's usually about 2 months of a lag from when the sales tax is collected. So we should be seeing January, February numbers with the next report. In addition to that, the other big component of our budget is forestry sales, and our spring sale bids are open tomorrow. So that's always another indicator of how things are going or where we're headed as far as our budget. Other things that are in progress that you'll be seeing at committee meetings, working on an MOU to recognize the search and rescue team as a part of county government. They've asked for that, and some insurance determinations. They do work under the authority of the sheriff's department, or have historically. So we're just trying to formalize that. That'll be on the public safety agenda next week. Focusing on safety and training. So we're doing a department review, starting with the highway department. So they have a full schedule now of training for this year. Building and grounds has some crossovers, so they're gonna participate. And then we'll be moving on to other departments, kind of on the by priority as the amount of their safety needs. We'll take the biggest ones first. Facilities, with the courthouse expansion complete, we're able to have our buildings and ground staff focus on some other things that have been needed. So we do have some projects that were included in the CIP last year coming to fruition. Some safety improvements with additional card pass readers for doors, implementation of secure windows in some offices as well. So there'll be some movement within the building. A radio network. First of the year, we switched to a new communications radio vendor. They were part of their initial charge was to assess our current system, which they've done. They reported back to public safety a couple months ago and highlighted the deficiencies. They discussed the immediate needs, so they've gone ahead and addressed some of those. But really, based on their review of our network, there's only so much they can do with it. And with it, we're not able to achieve the coverage that is desired for portable and more mobile radios. So we've asked them to give us a presentation on what it's gonna take to get the network up to where it needs to be to service all of our law enforcement agencies, fire departments, EMS. So we expect that to come to public safety in the next couple months. It's not gonna be a small project. I've already highlighted that, but something that we need to have a conversation about. And then carbon credits. We do have a visit slated for them next month to review the plots. But like I've mentioned at prior meetings, the whole process for carbon credits has been delayed for all projects in the registry. So they're telling us not to expect certification until early 25, and then potential revenue in 26. It could be earlier, but looking at it realistically, that's the timeline we're using right now.
Thank you. Number 18, correspondence, reports, and conferences. I want to remind the board members that in the month of May, there's a training session on Thursday the 9th. So the finance and administrative meeting will be on Monday the 13th. Also, I went to a meeting at Northwest Regional Planning yesterday. They talked about the governor's fishing opener, and they explained how much money comes in the area when you have the governor in your county giving a fishing opener. And yesterday, when I added up the numbers, it comes to $13,000. I thought it was a pretty good sum of money coming in from Northwest Regional Planning. Also, there was a Wisconsin County District meeting yesterday over at Flat Creek Eatery. They talked about shared revenues. And shared revenues is money that comes into the county, and they figure it's gonna stay by about 3% of the sales tax, I understood, which is a lot of money coming in, which is a good thing. Future agenda items that they'll be talking about would be mental health and court funding, which Sawyer County needs. Also, they talked about the Wheelers report. Andy, can you share a little bit about the Wheelers report, please?
Sure, the Wheeler report is longstanding political news in Wisconsin. They put out all the press releases, our legislators put out agency news. They link to all the news articles in the state regarding legislative or political activity. As county board supervisors, I believe you get a subscription to that and also one to WisPolitics. They both kind of do the same thing, but if you're a policy wonk or into that, it's good reading.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything? If not, you've been through your first meeting. If you're a first-time person, congratulations, the meeting's adjourned. Lynn, is there any resolutions that